Welcome to Planet Marzipan Podcast,
your fish and Marillion podcast,
where we talk about all things in the planet of Marillion and fish. I'm Mezza, and here's my mate,
Craig Houston.
Hello and welcome to Planet Marzipan. I'm Mezza, I'm here with my good friend,
Craig.
And we have a guest. We're crossing the streams, so to speak. We welcome from the Revelation Station / Behind the Lines podcast, more on that in a minute, Simon Heldreich.
Hello.
Hi,
nice
Simon. Welcome.
Yeah, great.
And Simon's here because we are talking about when Derek met Tony.
Indeed.
So we really are crossing the streams there, aren't we?
We are. It's like the crossover that everybody wanted. Was it worth it?
That nobody wanted it. No, everybody wanted it but didn't realise they wanted it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Simon, do you want to tell us a little bit about the podcast that you do with Gary before we get started?
Yes. So I co-host a podcast with my good friend Gary Starr, who I've known for absolutely years. We basically cover Genesis. So originally we covered Genesis. We started off in about 2018. We released first episode on the day of the 50th. Yeah, it would have been the 50th anniversary of the first single, Where There's Now Turns Sweet, was released. Wow. And we've covered all the Genesis albums in order, plus the things like the archive box sets and the live albums. Although we've not covered the last couple of live albums, The Way We Walk, yet. We will do eventually. And we went through all of those, some live reviews, and finished that just before pandemic. So we took a little bit of a hiatus, and while we decided what to do, and we were going to do a Marillion following up, but we were beaten to it by the Biam podcast, which I still enjoy. So
yeah, Paul and Sanya do a great job, absolutely.
Really good, entertaining. But they beat us to it, so we decided instead we would focus on the solo works.
Okay.
So we're currently working through those. Rather than doing them in order for each artist, we decided to do the first album for each artist and the second album for each artist, and so on and so on. We're only covering really the big 5-man lineup solo stuff: Hackett, Banks, Rutherford, Collins and Gabriel, dipping in a few Anthony Phillips albums here and there. We're going to do the first albums by Daryl Sturmer and Chester Thompson at some point as well. And then our most recent episodes were on the reissue of The Lamb. Not the reissue of The Lamb, the reimagining of The Lamb, It, by Dave Kersner.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, we were in that. We basically started that because we were looking for something creative to do. We've worked creatively together for a long time. We used to write a Terry Pratchett fanzine together, which evolved into a sci-fi comedy thing. But we slightly different, I think, to most of the podcasts in that we add comedy sketches in.
Yes, yeah. You've got that in common with Paul then, really, haven't you? Because Paul's a comedy writer.
He's a writer, yeah. Although he's a professional writer and we're just chancers. So
I didn't say that, you said that.
and we just take the piss. So
yeah, we're not comedy writers at all, as people who listen to the podcast will know.
We're just a joke.
We're just sarcastic bastards.
To be perfectly fair, Gary writes most of the episodes, and I do a second draft and take all his jokes out and then give it back to him, and he takes all my jokes out and gives it back to me, and so on until we've got a final thing. I do all the editing and the producing and sound design and things.
Okay.
But that's one of the focuses. We like comedy as well, so we're big on music and we're big on comedy, so we wanted to combine the two.
And as we're talking, it's where are we? Sort of second week in September.
Yeah.
So you presume you're very excited for the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway reissue.
Right. Well, I certainly am. Gary might be a little bit sick of listening to The Lamb at the moment because I'm making him listen to lots of different live versions of The Lamb after the It box thing.
Oh.
So I want to do some live reviews of different versions. So I think you might be a bit.
Okay, what going through bootlegs is that?
Yes. So I managed to get a copy of the original version of the Shrine
Yes.
gig to see how it compares. And I've just managed to, honestly, the Genesis the Movement torrent site. I don't know if you know that. They put a lot of bootlegs up there just before they were shut down. I managed to get a copy of the Wembley Arena pool radio broadcast as well.
This was the big dump, wasn't it, that caused them to be shut?
I'm not sure if that was a part of that dump or not.
Was it not? Okay.
But it was an older one. It's an old BBC broadcast.
Is it?
On the BBC broadcast box set, there's 2 tracks from that gig.
Is that the Odd Man Out bootleg, or am I dreaming?
Might be, yes.
Yeah, okay.
It might be, yeah.
I think I've got that from a record fair back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely released as a vinyl. I think you're right. It might have been Old Man Out. So yeah, I'm making him listen to lots of different versions, and then obviously Nick DiVigilio is re-releasing his version of the Lamb.
Yes, rewiring Genesis. Yeah,
which we did review back during lockdown, and I'm probably going to make him review it again.
Well, it will be slightly different. Steve Hackett's on it now, which he never was on the original.
Yeah, he's got the Abbey Road, some strings record Abbey Road as well, hasn't he? I think.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. Actually, possibly slightly more than the actual Lamb box set.
Are you allowed to say that?
But only because there's not a lot new on that Lamb box set.
No, there isn't. There isn't. Disappointing about the demos. I know you're not a big fan of demos. We talked before we were recording, but
yeah,
to only get 3 of the Lamb demos on download is pretty poor, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it is really. I'm wondering what Concord are going to do with all the Genesis rights they bought, because I was expecting a big slew of reissues and deluxe packages, and
there'll be more. There'll be more boxes like this.
They'll drip it. They'll drip it.
Yeah. I mean, we had the BBC broadcast box set, which was really good. Really like that. But
it was good, but it could have been better.
Cut down. Yeah, it could have been. It was cut down. So I enjoyed what was on there, but it was definitely something that they could have done a lot more with than they did.
Yeah, I'd have liked to see more of the Nebworth on there, but
yeah, exactly.
The quality wasn't quite as good as the other stuff, I didn't think. But no, it's a nice box. I think it's deleted now.
Is it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, good. I look forward to selling that in 10 years' time for an astronomical fee.
I know, but by then there'll be another reissue with that plus all the extras on. So
on Blu-ray. Yeah.
And where can folks find your podcast?
So we're on all the regular podcast apps you might use. Spotify, we're on there, and Apple Podcasts. We also have a website. We run ours through a website, which is revelationstationpodcast.com. So you can find everything on there as well. I did put a few videos and things up on there. Not so much videos that I recorded, but like links to YouTube videos and things. And we also on Patreon. So we do some bonus episodes and a few bonus blog posts and things. Although I wouldn't at the moment recommend anybody subscribing to that, because we are putting that slightly to one side for now, so we can get back up and running properly after a year or so off. But eventually there are bonus episodes on there already, but eventually there'll be more.
Okay. Brilliant.
Yes.
Well, that's all about your podcast.
That's all about me.
Well, you're here
yes,
because as well as your love for Genesis, you have a love for Marillion, as you've discussed.
I do.
How did you first get into Marillion?
Well, it was through Genesis, actually. Not surprising, perhaps. I'm the same age as you, I think, Craig. So in 1986, I would have been 14. And Invisible Touch came out, and Land of Confusion video grabbed me straight away, and I loved that. And a friend of mine at school, I knew his dad was a big rock fan and knew he liked Genesis, so I just said, "Here's a blank tape. Do me a copy of Invisible Touch, please." And he did, to be fair, but his dad got wind of this and went, "Can't give him Invisible Touch. It's a terrible album."
Absolutely.
So he just said, "Do this one as well." So on the other side of the tape, he recorded Foxtrot.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I listened to Invisible Touch thinking, that's really good pop. You turned it over, Watcher of the Skies came on. I was just like, what is this? What is this? And I was just absolutely knocked out by it. And that that was the first album I went out with my own money and bought when I had the money for it. So that's still probably my favorite Genesis album for that reason. But that obviously led me to delve into more Genesis stuff, which then led to me wanting to find the same sort of things. And Genesis were my first love in music. And that, so driving things like Yes, and not so much things like Gentle Giant and Camel and things like that. Although I did love Caravan, then that pushed me into more things like King Crimson, more guitar orientated stuff, and then that led me to reading lots of magazines, and lots of magazines saying Marillion, Genesis imitators, Marillion. So I picked up a few of their things, probably some singles, I can't remember exactly. I probably picked up Market Square Heroes first from a secondhand shop, and didn't really get the Genesis imitator thing until listening to Grendel. And then obviously it's like, oh, I see. Yeah. But that then led to me kind of Marillion kind of being my second love for a few years, and getting into them and following them. And it was obviously just in time for Fish to leave. So I think I got into them just after Clutching at Straws had come out and just before Thieving Magpie. So Thieving Magpie was really my first album of theirs that came out. So I really love listening to that, and just that's a good live album in terms of it's a sampler.
Yeah, it's a great set list, isn't it? Yeah.
So so a lot of their best songs on there from that era. So that was really good, and that got me into Marillion. And I followed Marillion then through all the year of who's going to be the singer. They're going to go, and then Hooks in You came out, and I know listen to your podcast and a lot of your guys, a lot of your opinions is that Hooks in You is not a great song, but I loved it. I absolutely first time I heard it. Got the 12-inch single. I think I drove my parents mad just listening to it on repeat over and over again.
The meaty mix of Hooks in You is a banger. So.
It is absolutely amazing. So so I loved that, and I was like, well, this guy's completely different to Fish. This is great, because now I've got this great band, and no doubt Fish is going to be a huge success as a solo artist like Peter Gabriel was. So this is best of both worlds here, if you'll pardon the pun. And then obviously Vigil came out, Season's End came out, loved it. And that's basically how I got into Marillion.
When did you first see them?
Well, I've never seen Marillion live.
Oh, okay.
I've seen Fish live twice. I saw him on his first two tours. But I was a student at the time, so I couldn't really afford much gigs, didn't have a job, so I never got around to seeing them at the time. And by the time I had a job, I drifted away from prog rock into other areas, into things like the rock music, more like Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, and Nine Inch Nails was a big obsession for a while. And it was really, I listened to the radio a lot, always did. And I just remember one night listening to, I can't remember which radio presenter it was, would have been BBC Radio 1, I think. And they just had an interview with Marillion discussing the upcoming Marbles. And I think one of your listeners, and I forget who it was, posted a link to a version of it on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Which I listened to that, I was like, that's the one. And I think they played Don't Hurt Yourself off the album, and possibly Fruit of the Wild Rose, but I can't remember. And I just like, this was a band I loved, and this is a great song. I'm going to go and find their website and look at what they've got. I pre-ordered the album from Marbles, and from Marbles onwards, I've been back in their fold, so to speak.
Yeah, brilliant. Wow. Okay. Well, so does that mean you've been into Marillion longer than Craig? Slightly?
I don't know. I mean,
probably by a few months.
Yeah, probably not by much. Like I say, it was just before Thieving Magpie came out, so I bought that probably not on the day of release, but around about the week of release at least.
So nearly.
But then, so
but he drifted away, Craig. You stayed loyal. He drifted away. So,
Well, I bought everything that Marillion or Fish released on the day of release, right up until Suits, I think.
Steady. Steady.
If Suits came out after Brave, it was
Yes,
Suits.
Yeah.
So it was Suits. And that was the point where I just drifted. That was when I was just like, okay, I think I'm done with that sort of music now, and didn't listen to any prog rock, not Genesis, not Marillion, not Yes or anything for 9 years, something like that. Well, I got into other things.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
But it was really that listening to that interview on Marillion on the radio brought me back, not just to Marillion, but to Genesis and to all the other stuff I'd loved as well. So
Brilliant. Okay. Well, welcome to the podcast. You're more than welcome.
It's good to be here.
We are here to talk about Tony Banks and Fish's collaborations.
Yes.
There are only 3 tracks that have been released.
Yeah.
The first of which is Shortcut to Somewhere.
Yes.
What year did that come out, Craig? I've got
1986.
That's the badger.
Look.
I knew he'd get his vinyl out.
I've got it up to 12-inch.
Oh, I've only got 7-inch.
Size isn't everything.
It's on the Quicksilver soundtrack album. But Craig tells me it's not on the film.
It isn't. Have you watched the film, Craig?
No, I was going to, but all the reviews of it were saying, yeah,
you were jabbing your finger in your eye, yeah.
Well, as part of
I ended up
my
watching
research,
Land instead.
fair enough. As part of my research, when me and Gary reviewed Soundtracks, which is the album, Tony Banks' album it's from, I made Gary watch Lorca and the Outlaws, which is what a lot of the tracks on side 2 are from, and I watched Quicksilver, and I definitely got the better end of the deal. Because Quicksilver is not a terrible film.
It's a Kevin Bacon film, isn't it?
It is, but it's not a great film.
He's a bike rider, isn't he, doing like deliveries?
That's right. He starts off as a banker and loses his fortune, and so becomes a cycle courier in New York. And there's a whole plot line of here's the bad guys, here's the good guys. It's not terribly well edited. It's not brilliantly written, but it is relatively watchable. I would say I wouldn't necessarily recommend you go and watch it yourself, but it's okay. I didn't kill myself watching it.
No.
But Shortcut Somewhere isn't on the soundtrack of the film at all. There's an instrumental version, which is also on the soundtrack's album.
It's Rebirth, isn't it? In the
that's right.
The Quicksilver suite.
Yeah, but that isn't the song itself isn't in the album at all. Which it's like, okay.
Well, it's a co-write, isn't it, between them?
Let me just grab my notes.
I think it is, because the only one that isn't is Angel Face, but I might be wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a co-write.
It is a co-write, yes.
Yeah. Because I think in one of the interviews, Tony Banks, I think it was there's an interview for one of the box sets that came out a while back, and he does mention enjoying working with Fish. He does talk about this track, and he does say it's a bit too wordy. He just wished Fish had pared back the lyrics a little bit on it.
Yeah, he just seemed to be struggling to fit all the words in as he's singing, doesn't he? At times.
Yeah, I mean, he does, gets the Quicksilver line in, to try and to do it with the thing. But one thing that is noticeable in the lyrics is he does manage to use the line Skyline Drifter, which I think he's wanted to have that in something since. So I don't know whether some of these words were kind of hanging around earlier on, and whether they're from his old school notebook to pick and lift and muck around with.
Well, they don't have anything to do with the film, so apart from the fact that he says Quicksilver and the bike courier company in the film is called Quicksilver as well. So it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because Gary and I have reviewed this album already and reviewed this song. One of the things that we thought was that it's like the vocals and the keyboards are fighting for dominance in this song. They're kind of, they don't really gel together.
It's kind of it's a fairly typical Banks solo track, isn't it? Lots of keyboards, everything else fairly low in the mix.
Yeah.
But it's quite jaunty. It's if it had live drums on it, I think I might like it more.
Definitely.
You and your live drums.
Weirdly, well, there's a remix in the Called Too Far box set. So I think as part of the what was it, esoteric reissues, they were going to go through and reissue all the albums remix, weren't they? When that kind of stopped at The Fugitive. Why they released them in order, I don't know, but we'll come back to that. So there's the selected tracks that were remixed for Called Too Far, and this is one of them. And it's a slightly better mix, I think. It just feels a little. It kind of fleshes out the sound a little bit more.
It's quite the keyboards and that quite sparse and quite sharp. The keyboards aren't they? They're very, very stabby.
Yeah. It's a very dated sounding keyboard.
Oh, very much.
Really
it's
dates
very mid-80s, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, it's like the keyboard is going to dominate this track, regardless of what else happens. And then Fish is coming in. It's like, no, actually, here I come. I'm taking this.
I'm sure he was chuffed to be recording with Tony, one of his idols,
Sure. I mean, I think me and Gary, can be a little bit disparaging about Tony Banks' solo stuff, rightly or wrongly. You choose. But I think he's a very, very good songwriter. I think he's not quite as good an arranger as he could be. And I think that old argument of Tony Banks is the heart of Genesis, and without Tony Banks, there is no Genesis. I think, I'm not sure that's necessarily true. I think he brings the great ideas and the great songs, and then the other two will go, okay, it should sound like this. Let's add guitar there, live drums, like you say, and tone that.
I think that's the problem. I mean, probably for cost, a lot of the Banks stuff doesn't have live drums on it.
Yes.
And we'll talk about the other two tracks in a minute, which are from the album Still, which I love far more than anything else he's done. Maybe apart from maybe the first one, A Curious Feeling.
Yeah.
But I think it's a cost-saving exercise. I think he was on a budget, and that's why it sounds like it does.
Do you remember, John? Sorry, a good few years ago, we had a conversation. I don't know, it was a good while ago, and it was when they were getting back together for the final round of tours, and we had a conversation about how grumpy Tony Banks was in a lot of the interviews.
Yes,
and he was quite, not exactly disparaging, but he was quite huffy about the other band members' successes outside of Genesis, whereas Mike and the Mechanics really successful, Phil Collins really successful there. His solo stuff has never sold anywhere near what they've done, and he was talking about it in a roundabout way and being quite huffy about it. But we had conversations about that back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, there was that famous meme of Banks is bitter when the when the BBC documentary came out. And he's quite upfront about being controlling and grumpy, and isn't he? I mean, I think, in my opinion, Tony Banks is the Steve Rothery of Genesis. He's the sound of Genesis.
Yeah.
You're right. You need the Collins to give you that swing, and the Rutherford and the Hackett to give you the guitar licks and the other things. But I mean, the single sleeve for this was quite entertaining. The two of them stood there in the t-shirts, in the opposite t-shirt.
Yeah, I quite like that. I mean, that was one thing, along with the Skyline Drifter line. When I first heard this song, that was the two things that jumped out at me. It was like, oh, they're wearing each other's t-shirts.
Yeah, and they couldn't get one to fit Fish, isn't it? Really, but
exactly. Yeah. I see. They had to put him in a long sleeve one, didn't they? And and roll it up.
And then, of course, there's the video.
Yes, Butch Cassidy.
Yeah. There or thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the song's not exactly Raindrops Keep Falling on Your Head, but
it's not. It
does the sense of fun and joy and the laugh and carry on that they have in the video.
Yeah,
works.
I think actually, I think it's almost, for me, it's almost, if you listen to the song first, it might leave you a little bit bit cold on that. That's a bit dated sounding. But if you see it on the video first, it gives you that, like you say, that sense of joy of them. They're having great fun, and they're having riding around the cycles, having a laugh, messing about.
Yeah, the first time I ever saw that, I think, was on the Kettle of Fish DVD because it's on as one of it's on there. I don't know that's one of the extras. I know it's on there, but that was the first time I saw it. I mean, I bought the single on 12-inch. I think I got it around about the end of 89, start of 90. So it was a couple of years after, a few years after it came out.
Yeah, that might have been roughly around the time I got it, actually, because I do know it was one of the first Tony Banks albums I bought was soundtracks, but I think I had the single before that, so it's so long ago.
Yeah.
It just fades away, doesn't it?
But surprisingly, it as a single, it didn't do very well at all. It didn't get crossover. I don't think it actually got airplay and stuff like that, because it only went into the top 70, or I'd say in the top 100 for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It peaked at 75, then went down to 81. So that's on the 18th of October, then the 25th of October, 86.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's the
fan base
only one of Tony's singles to ever chart anywhere.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there's a few singles from Still, but they didn't do either.
No.
Yeah, there were a couple of singles from Bank Statement that got a lot of radio play, never went anywhere.
There were a lot of promos around for Bank Statement, weren't there? A lot.
There were.
But with not being around at the time for this, then John, what do you remember it coming out? Do you remember much push for it? Do you remember any of the fan base trying to get behind it?
Still in Genesis Information at that point. I'm pretty sure Genesis Information mentioned it in the pamphlet, the update thing they put out, and obviously the Marillions were talking about it. I think you saw the single in quite a lot of places because of the sleeve. It's quite a distinctive sleeve, and to have those,
it's very clever and very, very good way to sell it.
Yeah, yeah.
What was the reaction from the Marillion fans to Fish working with Tony Banks at that point?
I think it because obviously as you've said, you're in sort of Invisible Touch era here, aren't you? Well, I think they thought it was a bit poppy, if I'm honest. And there's nothing to take away from that, is there? It's a bit of a lightweight track, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah. I think it has one of the flaws of Tony Banks' solo stuff is that he seems to be trying too hard to write a commercial pop song, and I think once he realized later on that wasn't his forte really, so stuff like what's the album he did with Jack Hughes called? It's gone. Strictly Ink, that's it. So when you get to Strictly Ink, and he's starting to try a bit more longer form tracks, then he really hits his stride. And then I think his classical albums he's released are absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think it's a shame he didn't get into that side of things a little bit earlier.
I think he shouldn't have done a Rutherford on The Fugitive, really, should he? He shouldn't have sung.
I'm going to be controversial here, and I've said this on my podcast as well. I think The Fugitive is his best album in terms of it's the only one that has any obvious emotion in the performances. Because he's singing it himself.
I think Still's his best album.
I do like Still. Don't get me wrong.
And there are elements in the others. An Island in the Darkness on Strictly Ink, just fantastic.
It is a brilliant track. But I think from in terms of his emotion coming through in the music, I think The Fugitive is definitely the best one. There's some great songs on The Fugitive as well. But I do think he's a better singer than Mike Rutherford.
Well, I very occasionally I give Acting Very Strange just a bit of a spin, but
Wow. Well,
I am a masochist, as you know. Yeah.
I mean, you should check out our review of that and what Gary thinks of it, because you might be surprised. I think if I remember rightly, he quite liked it. So
yeah, I quite liked it when it came out. It's all right, yeah. Maxine and all that sort of thing. Yeah, it's good. Anything else?
This period of time was when he was, with it being the soundtracks album, he was trying to get as many soundtracks or parts of soundtracks booked in as possible. But it's funny because was it in '83 he did the Wicked Lady album?
Oh.
No, it's funny because I that's Faye Dunaway, isn't it? That's Faye Dunaway.
It's
that.
Faye Dunaway. And Marine Sirtis from
Yes,
Next
from
Gen.
Star Trek: The Next Generation, because that
Yep.
I remember that because she's the girl who gets whipped in the town square,
Right.
and all her clothes fall off. That's Kenny Everett.
Exactly. As you can imagine, Gary has watched that film for review several times. Still not had a review from him yet.
But yeah, well there you go. Sorry,
Anything else?
John?
Anything else on Shortcut to Somewhere?
Not from me. I mean, I would say I quite like the track. I don't love the track, but it's good. It just sounds dated, I think.
Yeah. Okay. The other two tracks are on the aforementioned Still album, and that came out in April '91.
Yep.
The first track is Angel Face.
Yes.
Is this a co-writer or is it not?
This one is
not a co-write. This is a Tony
This one
Banks
isn't.
one. Tony Banks
Yeah.
solo write, yeah. But it
'Cause it's
features
odd.
it features Jenny Climack as well, doesn't it? From
does on back
Banks
vocals, yeah.
Statement. And Daryl Sturmer and Pino Palladino and Tony Banks, of course.
Of course, yeah.
When we get to the next track, Craig, it features your mate.
Louis Don Lejoran.
It does, yes. But not on this one. Angel Face. So Fish singing Tony's lyrics, slightly different.
It's obviously a Tony Banks lyric because it doesn't really make much sense. You can't really tell what the story, it's about. Is it about somebody breaking up with somebody? Is it about a stalker? Is it about this? But it's really well written, I think. So in terms of lyrically, the words are really good.
The choice of words are slightly weird. The second line is "Does your comforter provide?"
Yes,
and that makes it feel like a Fish lyric to me.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah. I mean, I think that thematically, not perfectly, but thematically, some of this could have actually fit on Vigil.
Yeah,
along the like, the Jack and Jill and family business kind of stuff, and also going back to Misplaced with like something like Lady Nina and that, where it's the thematics of it would work. This is why I'm quite surprised that it's a Banks lyric and not a co-write. I thought maybe the two of them might have wrote it together lyrically, but
no.
I mean, one thing I wasn't sure about was whether he'd written it specifically for Fish.
Yeah.
And then given it to him, or whether he asked Fish to do a song and then wrote it, or what.
I mean, purely guesswork, but I would think it's probably the latter. He probably turned up for the session and thought, "There's a couple of songs here I've got nobody for. Do you want to have a go at this?"
Yeah.
Because this came out in the period between Vigil and Internal Exile. So this was before Internal Exile came out, and this is where he just signed to Polydor.
Yeah.
And this was when Virgin was still independent. And then it's funny because the next year Virgin was bought up by EMI. Because Richard Branson sold to EMI because he needed to fund Virgin Atlantic, and it's funny. So then Fish is back on an album that's an EMI album.
Yeah, so that's all very incestuous, isn't it, in the record industry at that point? It's selling things and getting rid of things and moving things around. But no, I've lost my thread.
I think Angel Face is a great song. Again, there's just no live drums on this again.
Yes.
But you know, the caliber of the players he's got on the track, and the production is far, far better than the stuff on soundtracks.
It definitely is. I mean, soundtracks does sound a little bit like demo versions.
Yeah.
Especially, I don't know if you know the Lorca and the Outlaws suite from that.
Yeah.
He didn't write that for that film. He wrote that for 2010.
Oh, did he?
Yes, I remember watching a video on that, yeah.
Yeah, and the director rejected it. So he, make a few quid off that and sell it to somebody who's making a cheap film.
But I could understand it wouldn't really fit 2010.
It would.
Because
definitely not. I mean,
more cinematic.
From what I gather from Gary's review, it barely fits Lorca and the Outlaws. So,
I mean, it still is a Nick Davis production, so it's probably
Yes,
why it
it
sounds
is.
as good as it does.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of tracks on that album which do sound incredibly good. There's a couple of tracks on there that I'm not keen about, but that's more to do with the singers that he's used than the songs or the production or anything.
Yeah, I mean, Hero for an Hour isn't a classic by any means.
Yeah.
But
But I think the Nick Kershaw tracks on that, the Gift, is that Andy Taylor on the Gift?
it's Andy Taylor, yeah.
That's really good as well.
And the title track still it takes me by surprise. It's wonderful.
That's incredible. Yeah, that is. I bought the CD single of that just because he's got a longer mix on, I think.
Right.
I mean, this is where I put my hands up in. As I did actually buy this album on CD on the day of release, and I only played it a few times, couldn't get into it, and it just got filed.
It had a wonky table that suddenly wasn't wonky anymore. Yeah.
I mean,
I was buying a lot at the time, though. I was.
Worse people than me would say that's probably what most Tony Banks albums are good for. Not me. I just
You bought coasters, look.
I went to buy that box set a little while ago, and it's completely out of print again.
Yeah. No, so, I got it when it came out. There's a signed card in the front of it as well. It's a nice box.
But I think that Angel Face doesn't sound too dated either.
No, I don't think either of these tracks off here do.
I mean, you can definitely tell it's a Tony Banks keyboard. You know, I mean, you just can tell. And I was saying to John, and you've probably seen it, but you know, interesting for people to see that there's a version of it on YouTube, which is an AI updated version, where they've put Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel's vocals on as well as Fisher's.
You can't tell who's
one of those.
On it. You can't
it's a bit,
to be.
Yeah, you can get hints of who it's meant to be, but it's not perfect, but it's a good effort.
Yeah, there's quite a few of those AI things on there, isn't there? I think the last one I watched was Ripples with Peter singing.
Did you? Okay.
I've got mixed feelings about those things, to be honest.
I think in the next X amount of years, there's going to be a lot more of it.
Yeah.
The Lamb with Phil singing, no doubt. But yeah, I really like the verses on this, where it's quite dark and brooding for the verses, and then it's almost like whoever is the character that's singing is freed from that for the choruses, and that's a bit brighter and more up tempo. I quite like the contrast of that. But did think, I don't know if you listened to it much, but Calling All Stations, this reminded me of.
Yeah, a little bit. I can see where you're coming from with that. Some of the sort of more middle of the road album tracks off there. Yeah.
But you're not 3/4 of the way through it and it fades out.
No, exactly. So, what is it about fading? Fade out. Oh my
god. He's got beef about Calling All Stations. He really has.
Well, I think
I like the album.
Beef is weird.
So you come and shoot us. I actually like the album.
Well, Craig,
I love the album. Yeah.
Check out our review of it on the Revelation Station, because Gary had never heard it before, and we sat in a room and I played him each track, and then we reviewed each track first time hearing it, and it actually comes off really well. He really liked it. Yeah. So,
and poor
I went to see him on that tour.
Oh, you went? It was you?
Went, yeah.
I remember Mark and Pam going to see it at the arena in Newcastle.
Enjoyed it,
and it wasn't exactly full.
Well, this is in my wilderness years from Prague, and I didn't buy Calling All Stations for years and years, so I'd never heard it, and all I'd heard about it was, it's terrible, awful album, and I listened to it. I was like, quite like some of that.
Yeah,
it's not amazing,
awful.
But
it's not awful.
Dividing Line, I think, is great.
Yeah.
Calling All Stations itself is great.
I did buy it on the day of release as well. There you go.
Congo, bit middling, but yeah.
It was a good single. But anyway, we digress.
Anyway,
another murder of a day.
Back to Fish.
Fish.
And another murder of a day, which is, what is it, about 7 or 8 minutes long? 9
No, it's
minutes.
about nine, isn't it?
9 minutes, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I've got it written down. 9 minutes and 13.
Okay.
So I'm going to use this word. I can't remember who it is who uses this word all the time. Is it Graham? Epic.
That's
Oh, it's
Barnes.
Barnes.
Barnes. That's right. Yeah,
yeah.
it's epic. This
It is
epic
epic.
track.
Yeah.
It's just. This is great. I think this is that track where you think Phil Collins left the band. Who's going to replace him? Fish is an obvious choice. What would that sound like? There you go. Think this is a great advert for Fish being the singer in Genesis.
Yeah. I
It's
like the
prog.
way
It's prog, not prog, I would say, because some of the musical parts of it aren't very proggy.
no,
Some of it is, but it's it is a it's a step forward.
Yeah,
it's unusual in the way that the vocal melody and the keyboard melody are very similar. It reminds me of something I said in our Pet Shop Boys episode on the other podcast, which I don't like it when the Pet Shop Boys do, but I love it when Fish and Tony do it on this track.
Yeah,
it feels more collaborative.
Yeah, definitely. It's like they're playing together,
Yeah,
not against each other. Like Shortcut Somewhere, they would definitely seem to be playing against each other. Probably not intentionally, but that's the way it came across. And this, they really gel together. And I think if by chance Fish had joined Genesis, I don't necessarily think they would have lasted any longer. But this would have been a great track on that album.
Yeah. And it's a very wordy Fish lyric, as you'd expect for a song of that length.
Yeah. One thing that struck me about the lyrics, actually, it seemed very similar to Zoe 25.
All right.
From 13th Star. Was it from 13th Star?
Yeah.
He's talking about somebody lonely person getting things, and it struck me that he uses coffee grinds.
Yeah,
the coffee grinds, and that's Zoe 25 as well, isn't it? So very thematically, I felt it was very similar.
And I think the way he sings this as well is it doesn't necessarily sound like early 90s Fish. Some of it even harks back to a bit Fugazi like. In sections of it,
singing it high,
singing it high. Not all the way through, because he does change throughout it, but it doesn't sound like an early 90s vocal of Fish's. It's definitely a bit higher.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting track in that it sounds like it could fit on a later Genesis album or a Fish album.
Yeah,
kind of. It could have been on either of those two. This was 91, wasn't it? So did you say this was between Vigil and Exile?
It was before. It was before Internal Exile came out. It was the summer before Internal Exile came out. Yeah.
So it's interesting that Fish is still in that sort of prog mode, because I do think he went away from that a little bit, certainly in the middle years until you get to Rain Gods, when he seems to pull it back again.
Yeah, he seemed to enjoy a bit more like bluesy rock and a bit more rock and roll and that for a bit. Yeah, a bit pop rock and that. But it's also interesting as well, because the three songs that we've talked about, Fish has never, as anything that I've seen, played any of these live.
No,
never.
Has he even acknowledged that they exist apart from the original sort of promotion that they did for the album?
I can't say I've read with him talking about them. No,
I mean, I remember when Still came out, that was pushed a fair bit in the company magazine, the fan club, back in the day there, and he did push it then, but it was just it fell off a cliff and just disappeared straight afterwards. And just odd that, considering that these songs are as interesting as they are, especially the ones on Still, that they've just not been performed see, I've never seen them anywhere.
I think it's a real shame that Esoteric released the surround mixes in order. I think if they'd picked Still as the second release, we might have seen more of the catalogue.
Yeah.
I mean, Craig reminded me of the Atlantic. Is it Atlantic 100?
Atlantic 40th or something.
Atlantic 40, whatever it was.
Yes.
Where Genesis played
Shortcut Somewhere. Yeah.
And All I Need Is a Miracle as well.
Yeah. Phil's actually played All I Need Is a Miracle live himself. He played it at, I can't remember what it was. I think Lake Lucerne. They did a concert. He played it with Eric Clapton.
All right. Okay.
He's said a few times that he thinks All I Need Is a Miracle is a great song, and he wishes it had been a Genesis track. So
it could be another one of those that Mike probably played him and he wasn't listening.
Exactly.
The same way that Tony claims he never heard In the Air Tonight.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I highly recommended these tracks. If you've not, as a Marillion fan, if you've not heard them, go and dig them out, stream them,
100%.
whatever you can do.
Well, what I'll do is I'll put links in the show notes, because you can do that now on Spotify. You can put links to the tracks directly on there, so you can go to our page and press the buttons and hear the songs.
And
yeah, I mean, if nothing else, listen to Another Murder of a Day, because that's the kind of the Fish-led Genesis hit that you want to hear.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a great track, and I am surprised it still wasn't more commercially successful, because although I've said it does sometimes feel like he's trying too hard to write a hit single, I think he did get it right on Still.
I think that was his best opportunity, wasn't it, of the catalogue that he's got.
Yeah, but I think I have a feeling that by that point, the music industry and the radio industry was changing tastes. So
Massively.
all the big bands like Genesis, they were still getting the radio play, but the solo stuff just wasn't. So I think if this had come out 5 or 8 years earlier with these songs, I think it would have been huge.
Yeah.
But sadly, at that point, they'd lost the audience, really.
Yeah. Well, Simon, you've been an incredible help to us here. Thank you for drawing our attention to this.
I've got one other question that I wanted to ask you guys about Fish, in fact.
Oh, yes.
And we're talking about collaborations. So I seem to remember, and I don't know where I got this from, it may well have been from the Company magazine, or it might have been from somewhere else, it might have been from Kerrang or somewhere like that. Did Fish ever work with Mike Oldfield? Because I seem to remember in the back of my mind, Mike Oldfield's Earth Moving album was supposed to have Fish singing on that album about 1989.
It did. They did that charity.
The Hammy O thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So there's Shadow on the Wall. I think I've got a bootleg of Shadow on the Wall somewhere with Fish singing it.
Yeah. So I don't think they did it in the studio, anything in the studio. I think they were going to collaborate. But I think there was just the collaboration where they were on stage, like playing together.
Yeah, because it's been bugging me that I'm sure I've read somewhere in an interview or an article that Fish was working with Mike Oldfield on a track for his upcoming album, and it just never turned up. And I don't remember reading anything else anywhere of anybody. But I am old.
let's throw this out to the listeners. If you know what Simon's talking about, please chuck a message in the Facebook group. Let us know.
And it's funny because if you're looking at talking about collaborations, I mean, he did that. Was it a week with Clannad, which didn't account to anything? Then he did the Tony Banks stuff. Then he did Jeff Wayne's Spartacus.
He did, yeah.
Yes.
Which went down like a lead balloon a bit. But can I just say on that album, Catherine Zeta-Jones single for All Time, the video for that? Yes, thank you very much. And after that,
another one that you broke your pause button on, is it?
Yes, definitely. His collaborations seem to fall away a lot after that, because one of the things when he was, one of the things with leaving Marillion, with Vigil, he worked with a lot of people, a lot of big hitters in the industry, musicians and stuff. And then after that, and moving up to Scotland for Internal Exile, it seemed to go to down the pecking order of who he could afford.
I think he became very insular. Once he went up to Scotland, he became very insular again, didn't he?
Yeah, because I mean, he wanted Kate Bush, didn't he, for Just Good Friends?
Yeah,
he did,
which was never going to happen. If he was still on EMI at the time, in his career hadn't gone the way that it had gone. He might have had a chance back then. But yes, he managed to get to work with Steve Howe on Time and Word. And sensational Alex Harvey band guys and that, but and Arion, with the Electric
Yeah.
Castle and some
That's
other
a
bits
great
like
album,
that.
actually.
Yeah.
Into the Electric Castle?
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
And people like, our friend Little Egbert Derricks, who's a little legend, a keyboard player and pianist extraordinaire. But realistically, he's never had the chance to work with a lot of bigger people who I think he would have wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, I think I do like Derek. I do like Fish. I think you said it, John, in one of your recent episodes. It might have been the one that I was listening to today, which was the interview with Jim Newstead.
Jim, yeah.
I think you might have said it then, that he lives or dies on who he collaborates with.
Yeah.
He's got to have a good collaborator. So Sunsets and Empire, I think, is one of my favourite albums. And then when he starts to work with Steve Vancis later on, then he gets good again. And he can be kind of, I think his solo stuff can be kind of wishy-washy in the in-between period a little bit. I know you love it, but I'm not that keen on Suits.
I'm glad, because you sold me your vinyl copy, and I thank you for that.
You're more than welcome. And it wasn't Suits that didn't stop me from listening to prog. I throwed it out. Enough of this. It wasn't that situation. It was literally just a drifting away, but that was one of the last things.
But you're one of a lot of people who we've heard that from.
Exactly.
So you get to a certain point in your life and you either keep with it or you move on to something different. Yeah.
It was that point where I'm ready for something new. Is this going to hold my interest? No, it's just more of the same. Which I do find it funny that we call it progressive rock, because a lot of the bands that we call progressive aren't really progressive in terms of
we like the way we like
the way you say exactly. So you love progressive rock, but it's got to sound like the 70s.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there are exceptions to that rule.
There are. One thing I didn't mention actually earlier on, which I'll just drop in now, is I did do a short other podcast series called Is This Prog? Which again you can find all over wherever. I think I did 6 episodes and a special talking about some albums that could or couldn't be prog. I made up a few rules and applied them to those albums. And one of them, things like Led Zeppelin 4 was one of them. But one of them was a recent album from 2023, which Ethel Cain, Preacher's Daughter. So I don't know if either of you are familiar with that.
No.
It's an Americana album. It's a concept album telling the story of Ethel Cain. But there's long songs on there, experimental. Some of it sounds like parts of The Waiting Room, but then there's parts of it that sound like Lana Del Rey.
Wow.
So it's a really good album. Is it prog? Well, for me, spoiler alert, I said yes, it probably is prog, because it's pushing the boundaries of that type of music.
in the true meaning of the word.
Progressive. Yeah. So I just find it quite, not amusing, but quite interesting that progressive rock doesn't mean it's progressive necessarily.
I don't mind. I think that for me the interesting thing is Stephen Wilson's view on it. For years he hated being called a progressive artist.
Yeah.
Now he wears a badge that says I am the most successful progressive artist of the modern era,
Yeah.
And he loves it.
Yeah. That's it. It's like I have no issues with people liking Transatlantic. I'm on your side, Craig.
I don't right all the time, Sam.
I don't personally care for that sort of progressive style of things, but I think trying to find new things is good, and that's why I think Fish worked really well, working with lots of different collaborators and finding those collaborators. To go back to my point, didn't always work, but when it did, my goodness, that was good. I mean, Welshmerts, I think, is just a brilliant album.
Yeah, definitely.
Possibly my favourite of his albums since Vigil, I think. And similarly,
it's 2 years since we actually reviewed Welshmerts, and I said in that episode, I still don't know how I feel about it being his last album. 2 years on, I am still not processing it properly that it's his last album. No, still.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good one to go out on if it is.
Yeah.
It's like you guys, I am fairly cynical about whether he will stay retired or not. I think you just have to look at, all these artists coming out of the woodwork. Oasis, who, John, I'm on your side. I cannot stand Oasis. They clearly have run out of money, so they're coming out of retirement to make a bit of wedge so they can go back to retirement.
Yeah.
And I think you probably see something like that. Although if his autobiography ever comes out, maybe that will give him the boost.
I think he's got to get it past the lawyers, as we've said on this podcast. That's going to be the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I do like him, but he can be tetchy, can't he?
I like him from afar. Wouldn't want to work with him. It'd be a nightmare. But as an artist, he's one of the artists of my life. He absolutely is.
For sure. Yeah.
And when he's on it, he's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, Peter Gabriel is my all-time musical hero. Not just for his music, but for, all the other things he does in charities and Amnesty and WOMAD and all of that stuff. But definitely, as I was getting into prog, Fish was my favourite prog singer. Just like I said earlier, I when he left Marillion, I was just like, well, that's Marillion over with. Then they're not going to carry on without Fish, are they? As I'm sure many people did, and I think they could very easily have gone with somebody who was a sound alike.
Yes, yeah,
and they wouldn't be around now.
No, we've just put out, or in the process of putting out, an episode about Fish leaving.
Yes,
I think we came to that conclusion that if they'd stayed together, they might have limped on for an album or two, but then that would have all gone up in flames anyway. So
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think these three tracks we've just spoken about, I think Angel Face and Another Murder of the Day, definitely better than Shortcut Somewhere, but I think they're all worth a listen.
Yeah. Well, you've heard what we think. In true Planet Marzipan tradition, we asked you on our Facebook group what you think of the tracks that Derek and Tony put together. And there were some great replies. Thank you very much if you put comments on. We'll just give you a few of the highlights now. Stephen Dempster says, I really like Shortcut to Somewhere. I stumbled upon this single in 1990 when down in London for the Fish Albert Hall gig. Wish I could remember which shop it was at. Can't say any more than that one track. Wish they'd collaborated more than they had, as I thought they'd really gelled on that one. Paul
Gulliver. Shortcut seems like disposable 80s pop to me. A track rejected by the rest of Genesis, maybe? Maybe. I much prefer Angel Face, with a great vocal performance, which at times reminds me of both Gabriel and Collins. Murder of a Day is my pick of the bunch, a true prog song, excellent melodies, and a strong storyline lyric from Fish performed superbly. Nothing more to ask for.
Definitely agree with that, yeah. Pep Canals, hi Pep, says, I have them all and I like them, especially Shortcut. And Robert Alderman says, the latter two from Still are brilliant. Shortcut is good too, with a fun video.
Graham Smith, good friend of ours. I love Angel Face and particularly Another Murder of a Day. Always thought it sounded like early Genesis stroke Marillion mashup.
Yeah, I can kind of see where he's coming from a bit, yeah. Mark Griffin says, I think Angel Face is very strong. Shortcut to Somewhere is a bit naff because of those cheesy 80s synths, but it has a certain charm. I believe that Another Murder of a Day contains lyrics that Fish was going to use in the last writing sessions with Marillion for a song called Waiting on a Man. I like it. I'm not sure that's on the Holidays in Eden making of, isn't it?
Musically, yeah. There you go. Yeah. You never know how far stuff goes back.
No. We know a man that does, though.
Yeah. Jay Iworthy has actually posted a review in Kerrang from 16th of October 1986. So I'll give this a bit of a readout. So this is what Kerrang said about it. This is about Shortcut to Somewhere. I thought this would make a good single when I first heard the album. Tony Tony Banks' soundtracks, it features a historic first musical meeting between Fish and a genuine Genesis person. It works and raises all kind of comparisons. How does Banks compare Fish with Peter Gabriel? Well, says Tony, Fish is tall, Scottish, and a drinker, while Peter isn't and doesn't. Bit of an odd review, but here we go.
Yeah. There's a lengthy post from Warren Breeze. Thank you, Warren. It says, it's worth remembering the wider significance of Shortcut to Somewhere in the story of Fish's career. From going to see Genesis as a fan in 1980, he found himself 6 years later recording a single with Tony Banks. Move on 2 more years to 1988, and Genesis were appearing at the Madison Square Garden as part of the Atlantic Records 40th birthday celebrations. Shortcut to Somewhere featured in the medley from Genesis alongside Genesis solo material that they played that night. It was subsequently broadcast on the BBC in the UK. For Fish, that was a hell of a journey from seeing a band that had influenced him at a local venue in Edinburgh to the same band performing his lyrics at Madison Square Gardens only 8 years later. As such, this song must surely be one of the milestone moments in his career.
But strangely, like we've mentioned earlier on in the podcast, it's just not being played and it's not really been referenced all these years later.
I mean, it doesn't help that Phil, does he cock the lyrics up or something? I can't remember. It's not the best version.
I know, but it's just fun to see Phil singing Skyline Drifters.
Yeah.
And I think the last one for now, Leo Trimming. Angel Face and Another Murder of a Day in particular are pretty good, but the synth horns and the irritatingly tinny Shortcut to Somewhere are a crime against music. Just horrible. The only place that Shortcut should go is straight in the bin. Tony Banks is a musical enigma, a genius with Genesis, but his solo career was mystifyingly dreadful. The only feeling I got from A Curious Feeling as a teenager was intense disappointment. But like I said, somewhat surprisingly, Angel Face and Another What's It were pretty good, especially compared to Shortcut to very mediocre.
That's a bit harshly. I can see some of where you're coming from there, but there are some gems in Tony's solo career. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that isn't a gem as well, but yeah. Anyway, that's what you thought. Brilliant way to end the episode. Simon, thank you very much for coming onto the podcast.
You're welcome.
You're welcome back anytime if you want to come back on, or if you want to come on Planet Music and talk about that album that you've mentioned. That might be a good thing to do.
Yes. Yeah.
But all that remains to be said is thank you, Simon. It's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Take care.
Stay alive! Yeah. I've been waiting to say that.
There you go.
I love it when the guests know what to do. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Planet Marzipan Podcast. Please like and subscribe from whichever platform you get your podcasts from. You can contact us at planetmarzipanpodcast@gmail.com and check out marillion.com, fishmusic.scot for all the good stuff.